it's Jamie Bishop with Soul Heart Entertainment here. We're at Carrillo Beach, and I'm gonna do my toe reading from here if I can. Well, I'm gonna do it from here no matter what. Hey, Simon, how are you? Hello, can you hear me okay? Let's see. I'm trying to get it so that hopefully you can hear me. And hopefully I can set it on this rock somewhere where I thought I had a really good spot, but it's not working so hot. So right now I am setting up so you can see my gorgeous backdrop. It's not a fake one. Detta, can you sign on so that you can see if you hear me? Oh, you are? Okay. There's a little bit of a delay when, you can? Yay! All right. My husband says you can hear me, so awesome. Fabulous. So today we're going to talk about toe reading, of course. I always talk about toe reading because that's my favorite subject in the whole wide world. And we're gonna do it from the beach. Why not? We live in Southern California. Might as well take advantage of it. They reopened the beaches and heck yeah, right? So right now, my husband and my daughter are gonna go see the tide pools while I engage in a little bit of toe reading activity, shall we say. So let's talk about toe reading. Hi. So toe reading is this idea. I don't know if I've gone into this, but toe reading is this idea that our toes show up on our feet in the direction, shape, color, along with, any kind of challenges that show up on our feet. Those things represent our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So toe reading is super important when you're trying to, most of my clients get stopped in a place in their business where they're having difficulty moving forward and they don't know why. They don't know what happened to take them off track. And toe reading can really help that and support it. And that's one of the reasons why it makes me so happy, because I love helping people get unstuck, if that's the right way of saying it. So I think this is the perfect location. I think you guys can see that gorgeous backdrop that we have, a nice little private alcove. See if I can get my family in the background without, there's my daughter, my husband's up there over with her. Anyway, so we're just gonna wait a few minutes. Hopefully we'll have some people join here in a moment and we can answer some questions. So just for people who are, jumping on after the live recording is done, what toe reading does to help is it makes a difference in how we go about, how we uncover or discover, as the saying goes, where our subconscious thoughts, feelings, and emotions are in relation to where we want to be. So the goal is, let's say, a financial fortune. But if your financial toe, which is your right foot baby toe for most people, isn't showing up in the world as confident and upstanding and, no lines, no bumps, no curves, no calluses, no challenges, essentially is what that means, then gaining financial prosperity is virtually impossible. So that's the way that toe reading can help, is that, when we identify where our subconscious thoughts are, and we can tell that by the way the toe shows up, we can discover how to fix it. So when we're talking about how to fix things that are challenging to us, we're talking about really taking very good care of our soul. And what that means is literally taking care of your feet. So if you're a woman, you can certainly have pedicures regularly, right? That's a fabulous way to take care of your toes. If you're a man and pedicures are intimidating to you for whatever reason, by the way, guys, I highly recommend them. You don't have to get polish. That's optional. It is the way that we care for our feet. So you can make sure that you wash your feet every time you're in the shower. Something so simple as that. It can have a profound effect on your toes and the way that they show up. Another thing that you can do is have what we call a sitz bath, or where you have any kind of salts and maybe foot soaking things. Like the simple basic recipe is 1 part salt, 1 part baking soda, sorry, it escaped my brain for a minute, and 1 part and a few drops of whatever essential oil or oils that just kind of speak to your soul. So putting all of that in, let's say, a couple gallons of water, and having your feet soak in them, where your feet can remain flat, where your feet can just kind of enjoy being nurtured and babied. It's kind of like taking a bath. I mean, not everybody takes baths and not everybody likes taking baths, but there's something about taking baths that's really, it's comforting to the soul. It for me anyway, when I get in a bathtub, it feels like I'm covered in warmness, and it's a very secure feeling to me. And forgive the metaphor, but it's like being in mom's womb, right? As a baby, you're nice and safe in there. You're protected from all the outside elements, and sometimes that's what a bath feels like, and it's just amazing. So yeah, so baby your feet. That's one of the best ways in the whole wide world to get over challenges, or to overcome those subconscious beliefs that show up in our toes that are stopping us from achieving our goals. So yeah, so that's one of the ways. So what can we talk about here? We are one of the things about toe reading, and walking on the beach is actually a fabulous way to baby your feet as well. The granules of sand help to slough off any dead skin that's showing up on your feet. Yeah, it's actually one of the most healing things you can possibly do, is walking on the sand barefoot. So there's always that. If you have a beach nearby, and if you don't have a beach nearby, you can create your own little beach by getting a bag of sand from Home Depot or Lowe's. All right, well, okay, so let's talk more about that wealth toe, which is it shows up on the right foot on the baby toe side. Okay, so it's the baby toe on the right foot. And the reason it's the baby toe on the right foot is because the right foot is how we show up here in the real world, or in, the real world, I say in quotes, our version of the real world. And the left foot kind of represents the interior self, if you will. So the right foot is the exterior self, or how we show up in the world, and the left foot is the interior self, or how we think within ourselves about ourselves. Okay, so that can also be super, super important when it comes to that wealth toe. The baby toe is the wealth toe. So the wealth toe shows up on the right foot, and on the left foot, the baby toe represents faith and trust. So when we're talking about being able to gain financial prosperity here in today's world, and the baby toe on the right foot shows up perfectly normal, perfectly natural, right up all the, it's nice and clear, or it's nice and, not bumpy is one of the things that I look for. It shows up straight off of the foot. The nail is straight up to heaven, if you will, or God, straight up to the ethers. And it's not turned over, there's no callousing, there's no bubbling, none of that. If everything about the baby toe looks ideal and that person still doesn't have wealth or abundance, or at the very least a feeling of wealth or abundance, I often look to that interior self foot. There are people having fun. Let's see if we can capture them on our camera. There they are. So fun. So we are, so then on the left foot, the faith and trust toe, we're talking about when I see the wealth toe show up beautifully and the faith and trust toe shows up with bumps or scratches or bruises or blisters, or maybe that padding on the bottom, it comes to a severe point, or maybe the padding around the edge isn't round, it's too pointed or whatever. All of those things mean something and in the faith and trust of that person. And really everything means something. So it's kind of hard to describe or talk about it if I don't know exactly what my client is looking for, which is why, of course, when I work with people, we're talking about very specific things that they want to overcome, which is so using the toe reading as a tool to get there is so helpful. Because for me, I love that science behind it, because it shows up physically. So it's these, deep-rooted thoughts and beliefs that we have that we may not even know we have, but there it is. It shows up physically on our bodies, and it makes it easier to overcome those, or to acknowledge that I'm even having those thoughts on some level in some way, and B, to make sure that those thoughts are, acknowledged. One of the other tools that I use with my clients is something called EFT. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique, otherwise known as tapping. And I think that the marriage of the toe reading and the tapping goes so beautifully hand in hand, because there it is, your subconscious beliefs and thoughts showing up on your toes. You can see them, you can feel them, taste them, touch them, whatever you need to do to see where your subconscious thoughts are holding you. And then the tapping helps release whatever it is. And through tapping, the way that tapping works, hi Nicole, thanks for joining me. The way that tapping works is it's a way to acknowledge what we're thinking. So we've grown up in this society of, hi Jean, such a good supporter, my husband. So the way that EFT works is that you're acknowledging thoughts that you may not even know you have. And by acknowledging them, you're kind of going through this motion of gratitude for having them show up. Because, okay, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I started a Couch to 5K with a group of women and men, and they're friends that I've gained throughout the years. And my family and I were still celebrating Jacelyn's birthday, so we were out and about. I didn't really get to the exercises that I was supposed to get to. I had planned on doing that as soon as I got home. And on the way to the car from wherever it was that we were, I tripped over one of those parking curbs. The curbs that stop the car from going further than it should, right? I just didn't see it. I almost fell flat on my face. I definitely fell really, really hard on my knee. Hi, Jenny. Oh, so glad you're here. So exciting. So I fell on my knee and it hurt like hell. And I scuffed my hands, the butts of my hands up, or at least I thought I scuffed them up. They definitely helped me from falling flat on my face. Thank goodness. But there must have been some sort of subconscious belief in me that said that I wasn't going to be starting that Couch to 5K today, right? So this subconscious belief shows up. The proof, or the so-called proof in what was showing up in my life, right? Falling flat on my, knee, and potentially setting me back several weeks and making it so that I was not going to be able to do this Couch to 5K. Well, it turns out that the second that I hit that floor, I was like, fate, take a seat, because I'm not buying it. I am doing the Couch to 5K. You're not getting in my way. And I just had that, I knew I was going to be doing it. It was definitely going to happen. There was nothing that was going to stop me, right? So, hey, Dave, thanks for joining. So I mentioned that because those subconscious beliefs can so get in our way, and then fate kind of takes a kick to our butt and makes something happen that maybe might throw us off track from whatever goal that we have. And we just can't let it. We have to have that belief in place that it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter what obstacles we come up against, we're going for it anyway, right? So what I was talking about before a few people joined was the way that shows up in your baby toe. So your baby toe is your faith and trust on your left side, and your prosperity and abundance on your right side. And so when those subconscious beliefs happen, your toe might bubble up, it might be holding you back, it might, curl over or under the other toe beside it. It might show up 100 different ways. But so when you're trying to work through what's actually showing up, which is where our subconscious beliefs are, and where you want to be, which, for me, in this particular case, it was the Couch to 5K. I'm doing it. I don't care what gets in my way. But so that might show up as my toe being underneath or turned over or not quite upright, and it's not open and willing to receive all that is good, right? It's showing up a little bit more scrunched in, a little bit more held back, a little bit. So there's subconscious beliefs that are blocking that from happening. But when you change that thought process, and that thought process goes to that place of perseverance, and I'm going to get her done anyway, I don't care what you throw at me, your toes, believe it or not, change right then and there. So this happened to me yesterday, where I fell right on my knee, I fell on my hands, I missed my face by that much. But my toes have been showing up straight up and ready to go ever since. And I didn't hurt my knee, and I barely, I don't even know if you can see it. It doesn't even, I put hand sanitizer on it in the car just to make sure that it was a little bit clean. Didn't even sting, so I didn't even break the skin. That's how powerful our thoughts are, guys. So, make sure that your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are completely in alignment with where you want to be. And because that shows up physically in the toes, it's such a perfect way to double check that your subconscious thoughts are in alignment with your goals, right? So, oh, hi, Lisa, yay, you are here, so exciting. This is my passion. Toe reading is my passion, so I want to share it with the whole world. So this is my way to do that. So fabulous. So I'm out here at Carrillo Beach. There's a few people having fun, walking around, enjoying. I'm so glad that there's my family over there. Hi. So hey, you guys, if you have any questions about toes, or if you can think of somebody's toe that so let's, I think we can pick on our parents sometimes a little bit easier than we can pick on our peers, right? So if if your mom or grandma has, let's see. Oh, hi, Janice. How are you? Fantastic. Oh, it's so hot where you are. You know what? It was really hot here today. It was about up to 80 degrees today here in the valley. And so we came out to ocean to get that cool breeze going. It was fabulous, fabulous idea. That was all my husband and daughter. I would still be on the couch, which is why I'm in the couch to 5K. But anyway, so back to the toes. So if you have an idea or something that you would like me to share a little bit more information about, I'm more than happy to do that. Like I'll tell you something about my mom. My mom is super, super close to me. She has these toes that come across, and lots of people call them or refer to them as the Flintstone toes, because they're very kind of square. They're a little bit boxy. They're maybe short. I'm like, what was that on my foot? It wasn't anything. It's my imagination. So her toes show up nice and square, boxy, a little, kind of nice and curved, but they show up kind of short toes, right? So her big toe is kind of short, but it's a little bit, it's almost as wide as it is long. And what that means in toe reading is that she is somebody who is extremely reliable. She's somebody who comes across as the queen. She has that queen archetype in her, which is definitely true. My brother can verify that for me. She'll walk into a room and she just commands that royal attention. And she's also really, really good at making decisions. So she can see the big picture. She can also focus in on tiny details. And she's really, really, really amazing at delegating. So that's kind of what I mean by describing somebody's toe that you know well, so that I can explain to you kind of where they're coming from, or maybe some personality traits that they have. And then when I sit with clients in toe reading sessions and or coaching sessions, we talk in more detail about what's showing up there on the toes to get them over their humps in life, if that's the right way to think about it. So if you think about okay, so here's Jenny says, what about curled pinky toes? So with curled pinky toes, I assume that what you're talking about, Jenny, is that I'm using my hand as a pretend foot right now. I assume that means that the pinky toe is kind of showing up a little bit curled like that. And usually people that have that curledness may also have it kind of hide, if you will, underneath the toe next to them. Does that sound, give or take, about what you're talking about? I'll give it a minute because I know it's a little bit delayed in what I'm saying versus just making sure that I'm describing it correctly. Where the pad hides. Okay, so kind of the tip of the pad hides maybe underneath the toe next to it. Okay, so typically what that means is that there's depending on which foot, again, we're talking about the right foot means about our external self, and specifically on the pinky toe, it's prosperity and abundance. They're having so much fun, I love it. And then the baby toe on the left foot shows up as the faith and trust toe. So depending on which foot it shows up on, if it's showing up on the faith and trust, maybe we're having, so both toes. So in that case, we're talking maybe we have a little bit of either codependency on our relationship going on, and or hiding from that faith and trust because we're a little bit afraid of showing our true colors, kind of thing. The other on the wealth I call it the wealth toe because that's really what it represents to most people, because most of my clients come to me for business reasons, but it's called really the prosperity and abundance toe. And prosperity and abundance, of course, encompasses so much more than wealth, right? So on the prosperity and abundance toe, we're talking about how we show up in the world. And if it's kind of curled over or hidden under that toe next to it, again, we have a little bit of a dependence, if you will, on the relationship involved to validate us, to feel good about ourselves. We maybe look to the outside world for confirmation of our beliefs, especially when it comes to prosperity and abundance and faith and trust. Okay, does that make sense? So hopefully that answers that question. It's you know, when you say the pad hides, that's a perfect indicator of where the thoughts are. So your thoughts are, you're hiding it around faith and trust and prosperity and abundance. So let's just say that hiding showed up on the second toe, the pointer toe, right? The toe right next to the big picture toe. That if that toe was kind of bent over, or maybe hiding under the toe, or either of the toes next to it, it would mean that we're holding back from maybe our communication, because that toe represents our communication. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to think of other scenarios that toe reading is a really interesting thing, because the way that toe reading works is how you describe what you see is very pertinent to the conscious thoughts that you have about that perception. So hidden, my question is, what are we hiding? Right? I call it like because my toes did that for a very, very long time, and when I found toe reading, I was like, well, screw that. I don't want any codependency, you know. God love Gene. He's so patient. Okay, there we go. Okay, so with baby toes, we'll talk about baby toes. They're so fun. Okay, so baby toes have a tendency to show up in the world in two ways, and only two ways. Either all toes wide open and spread, or all toes kind of closed and straight. You know, I mean, we kind of don't mess up our feet until we start having conscious and subconscious thoughts and beliefs that tie us back, if you will. So baby toes are usually, they should move pretty easily. They should be able to, I mean, obviously you don't want to tickle your baby, or maybe you do, but when you're looking at the toes, it's not about tickling, it's about how willing the toe is to move. In an adult, really wiggly toes kind of means that they're a wishy-washy person. Maybe they're, not that wishy-washy is a bad thing. It may not be a bad thing. It depends on what they're doing for a living, right? Sometimes wishy-washy is perfect. Politicians, wishy-washy as hell, right? So, and I don't know that you would want a politician that stood on one platform permanently and forever, because, I would want that, but not everybody likes to hear something that they don't want to hear, right? And not to bring politics into this, but, politicians probably have wishy-washy toes because they have to be open to all of the ideas and be willing to receive information that they may not be, that they may not already believe. So they have to be open, and they have to be willing to learn and grow and adjust and all that kind of stuff. So toes that are much more stiff and that, don't want to wiggle, whereas, if this is a wiggly toe, and I go back to the baby feet on this, you want baby feet to be as easy to move as humanly possible, because you're teaching them all the things that they need to grow up to learn to fit into society, right? To make them successful, to make them prosperous, to make them be able to survive without you. That's what we're here to do as their parents, is raise them up to kick them out of the nest, right? So you want baby toes to be kind of wiggly, if you will. When you're talking about kids and people that don't have wiggle to their toes, you're talking about people that you own no wiggly toes. Nicole. So I had a thought. Nicole, I know you well enough to know that you'll be totally fine with me saying this. She's a Louisiana girl, folks, and my God, is she stubborn. So No wiggly toes means you're pretty set in your mind. You're pretty set in your ways. You know exactly how it is. You want to know what that also means? It means this girl gets shit done. She gets shit done right now, right here. You only have to tell her once and it's off to the races for her. So, and toes would have, Jenny, toes would have varying degrees of wiggleness, if you will. Let me go over it really quick since I have a few people on. Each toe represents something different, and I'm using my hands as representation of the toes. So the big toe represents the big picture or destiny in our lives. The pointer finger toe, or the second toe, represents communication. The middle toe, you know, kind of represents the same thing as it does in your hands, which is it kind of acts as our temper and or action, how we take action in our lives. The ring finger toe is just that. It's all about our relationships. And then the baby toe is the only one that's different from foot to foot, which is the, on the right hand, it's prosperity and abundance, and on the, right foot, it's prosperity and abundance, left foot, it's faith and trust. And the difference between the two is that the right has a tendency to represent our, you know, our spirit in the outside world, how we interact with people outside of our social circles, and even in our social circles, but somebody outside of ourselves. And then the left represents how we deal with ourselves internally, okay? So I'm seeing Nicole says Aiden is too ticklish to check his toes. That's fine. That just means he doesn't want you anywhere near him. He probably knows his mind just fine. I know Aiden well enough to know that the child knows his mind. He knows what's up, and he knows what he wants, and he knows what he is not willing to accept, right? So it would not surprise me if his toes show up as a little bit more, you know, non-wiggly, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean that to come across as derogatory if it is. I don't think it is, but it just means that you're somebody who knows what you want. You're somebody who's going to go for it. You're somebody who has a tendency. The only suggestion that I would have on that is potentially be open to seeing things from another perspective. Because if you're not seeing another perspective, you're losing the opportunity to learn and grow from it. And you may not be able to see what it is that you're here to grow, learn, do, and how you're here to support society, kind of up-level, if you will, up-level their spirit. So let's see. I'm really sorry. Last time I did this, I could not see every single person's comments until I logged out. So if you're somebody who has a question that they've typed in and I'm not seeing it, I do apologize for that. So hopefully how are we doing on time, guys? Fantastic. So we're just at that 30-minute time, give or take. I'm going to show this fantastic picture of this gorgeous beach. Oh, they chose to be on a public beach. They're in my video. Here's my family. Love it. Anyway, anybody else have any last questions before we call it a night? Thank you. Stop. Yeah, I know I say that all the time, but seriously, like, I love that encouragement. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining, Jenny. I hope you learned some cool things, and I will post once I get home and can go through the video and add the text to it. I will post a map of the feet so that you can check it out and see what it looks like if you can't find it somewhere else. And I'm going to be here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. from 6 to 6:30. So come on, join me. Come up with questions. Send me pictures. I would love to talk more about feet. I'll see you next Tuesday. It's Jamie with Soul Heart Entertainment. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.